Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Bigfoot's Barber Shop. Ooh, again, we team up for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here in the Fox Den. Yeah, please. It's been quite a while since I fed. Absolutely delicious. I do apologize for the mess here in the Fox Den, but no worries. I will eventually get to cleaning it up. Without further ado, it is time for Brian Barber and myself to take a walk into the darkness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf, and everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night, I see once again you have decided to tune in to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. Mr. Barber, aka Bigfoot's Barbershop, has again found his way through the darkness and the werewolf-infested forest to sit down by the late night fire as we once again burn some timber and read a few chapters from the Midnight Society book. Mr. Barber, how you doing, man?
We're having a good time tonight. How are you doing, my friend?
This is good stuff. And, well, the Bruins got a huge win earlier, man. I almost lost my Ganoodle, though, because we gave up a goal with 1.8 seconds left that our bozo defenseman decided to knock Sugar Sway's stick out of his hand. And Swayman's our goalie, obviously, to all you Bruins fans out there like me. And then our defenseman, all he needs to do is swat a puck that literally is like in slow motion going up in the air. And you know what he does? He fans on the puck, but hits it just enough to deflect it into our own goal with 1.8 seconds left. We did end up winning in overtime, but you know how hard it is to do anything in under 2 seconds in life? And that occurred. So, but we got the win, man. So I'm pretty good now, bro.
He is the most unpopular person and sitting in the back of the bus on his way home by himself.
Yes, seriously, man. It was brutal, but it is what it is. What else you been up to, dude?
Oh, I'm kind of digging my way out of the doghouse with my girlfriend. We threw a surprise birthday party. She turned 55. She didn't like the fact that I put 550 on the birthday cake with numbers.
Well, yeah, man. Come on, bro.
I know you're not supposed to ask a woman her age, but, I got to get my giggles, too.
Yeah, but she does know where you live and sleep, man, so.
It's a good thing she's wheelchair bound, because otherwise I would be in trouble.
What the heck?
I have to get away with some of the stuff I do.
Doesn't mean she still can't beat you while you're sleeping, man.
No, man, she's stuck in the chair.
Oh, no. That's so funny, man.
As bad as that sounds, I hate to say it, but, sometimes if you get in an argument, try to walk away to calm down for a minute and then come back to it and address it like an adult instead of having a tantrum. They're going to follow you and continue to try to turn your knob up.
Yes.
Where in this case, she can't follow me, so I can just walk away and cool down and come back to it when I'm ready.
No, that's a good thing, man. I'm usually super calm, but like I said earlier, I had a little meltdown as well because having to deal with little children that are supposed to be adults participating in something. So, yeah, I usually can tolerate a decent amount because I used to wig out when I was younger. I'm not about that anymore. But every once in a while, you're just like, dude, you just really pissed me off, and I'm not gonna let this one fly. So yeah, I feel you, man.
Most people tend to, you're supposed to get wiser with age, and I think we calm down when we do that because I used to throw hands at the drop of a hat, and then it was several months ago. It really hit me that, you know what? I haven't had my butt kicked in a very, very, very long time. So I am probably way overdue for the next one to be the one. So I'm trying to avoid that one.
That's just what I'm saying, man, for sure. You never really know. And just every once in a while, though, some things just need to be said. And on a humorous note, I always tell everybody never try to troll a troll, okay? Because I used to be a troll in life, meaning I would go out of my way to troll people that I felt needed to be trolled, whether it was idiotic sports takes down on local Boston networks or people online. I just found amusement in trolling people. I'm above and beyond that now. But guess what? That still lives inside of me. So I always tell somebody, do you really want to troll a troll?
Well, exactly. The troll is sleeping. It's not unalived.
Yes, exactly. It's still under that bridge, man. So it can come out at any point in time. Because like I said, I've always been one of those people. I just like to even troll and fun, man, and I have thick skin because of that. Because if you're gonna troll people, you gotta expect things back, dude. So, but again, it is very not worth investing energy when you can be investing it elsewhere. But like you said, man, it's still deep, darkly locked up. So
Yeah, I don't understand the people that feel the need to join pro groups just to start anti arguments.
yes, I feel you, man.
You're basically lying when you go into it because most of them have forms. Do you believe in this? Do you abide by this? And then they click yes.
Yep. It's so true, man. It's so funny, dude. But tonight to the audience, obviously we're gonna be, talking our normal stuff here that we always do, but we are gonna incorporate just a few examples as to how nefarious human beings really are as well. And when you look at the cases of what people do to people and animals, well, even if this dogman and werewolf is a raging beast, hate to break it to everybody, that thing looks like a teddy bear. Yes, not a real bear, an actual fluffy teddy bear in comparison to what people do. So even if they are aggressive and things, they have nothing on us.
Oh, yeah. All you got to do is look at the Vikings and see what we're capable of.
That's what I'm saying. I don't really think a Sasquatch or a dog man is really going to be torturing. They're just going to eat you, okay? I mean, yeah, like, that stuff is all so crazy to fathom. And I was actually watching a documentary the other day, prime example. I mean, what? Yes, obviously we were at war with Japan and Germany at this point in time in World War II. But keep in mind, man, these people are just like you and I. And the majority of them didn't want to be where they were. They were being forced by people above them, political people. Okay, right? So just because someone's Japanese at this point in time and they were American, they're still people. Okay. And there was a documented case as to, you could hear this guy talking about it. Everyone in his platoon, this one Japanese soldier who somehow survived this huge ambushing that the Americans did. Well, he saw all of the people that obviously he was friends with too were deceased, right? And you know what these American soldiers were doing? Just casually shooting him a little bit in the shoulder here, a little bit in his hand here. And he's literally in the water, this guy's saying, screaming, right? And this man was like, I couldn't understand how these people were doing this So he just took out his firearm and shot the guy right in the chest and just put him out of his misery immediately. But that's what I mean. Like, what are we doing here, dude?
Oh, my uncle had the one thing he talked about when he was in Vietnam, besides his jungle rot feet, was an instance where he and one other person were on night patrol, and it was a foggy night over an open field, and all of a sudden they can see all these little figures walking toward them. And they're like, what the heck is that? And as they cleared the fog, it was kids 5 and under, but they had grenades strapped to their chest. So they had a choice to either stop them in the field, or those kids were coming in to. What kind of person sends a 5-year-old with a grenade strapped to their chest? Yet here we are. People are capable of just the most ruthless things you can think of. Just when you think you found the bottom, somebody manages to add another floor.
Yeah, man, that's just what I'm saying right there. And that's what's going to tie into what we're going to speak about tonight. Because, yes, I do believe Sasquatch and Dogman are responsible for some of the missing people and such. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But as I do dive into more of the behaviorisms that people really do, I just see countless examples of serial unalivers that are just spending vast amount of times in these national forests. I can't remember if it was the late 70s or early 80s, but there was a guy going around Yosemite just unaliving everybody, or is it Yosemite? I always say that wrong, but they destroyed many people's lives, okay? And again, in a very vast and remote area. Then you have another instance where this elderly gentleman would go to areas that he knew were remote, and he would study the point in time of when there would be a little bit more higher volume on these trails and when there wouldn't be. And he ended up, he's telling you all this, that his last victim, it's really sad because you hear this guy say that he's very admirable of this woman's attempt to try to fight and survive, but obviously she unfortunately didn't, but she tried so hard. But either way, this guy would use his dog to start conversations with people that were vulnerable. As soon as they turned around, he would then clobber them in the back of the head with a billy club he had. And, well, he would take them and put them in his van that he had remotely nearby and then leave this area. Only reason he was caught is there was one woman that, well, like she said, really probably should have been the victim, but something told her that this guy who had approached her, something was off about him, and she had some family members that were coming down the trail a little behind her, and seemingly she thinks that the extra couple seconds that she had delayed by trying to backstep, then without even realizing until afterwards who this person was, her group came around the corner and then discouraged him from pursuing what it is he wanted to do. But she was able to give a description of what he was wearing and everything, and then the brilliant minds out there put together who he was, what he was doing, and caught them. But again, that is just another example of the messed up things that people are doing. Okay, so we definitely need to understand that there is a human element to this that is occurring. And yourself, have you ever had any sort of potential? I know you haven't really had any Dogman encounters directly, but say with your family and stuff, when they had that encounter happen where the dog got thrown through the window, and also some of your own personal Sasquatch encounters, have you ever felt, and did your family feel like they were in a drastic sense of danger?
From the impression I got, yeah, all the boys, even though they had sticks that go boom, we're sitting up there on the roof pretty scared, just having a searchlight and a couple flashlights. Because you got a fog rolling in, you had something stomping and growling or walking around the house that they couldn't see. So from what I gathered, yeah, they were in a sense of danger. And then myself, the only time I mean, I felt nervous a couple times, and I got some audio that I recorded that as soon as it started, I was originally, because I heard this whooping, and I'm like, what the heck? So I'm recording on my phone, think I'm going to see a Bigfoot walk out of the tree line. And then what happened was, there's whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm waiting and waiting. And all of a sudden, something started growling to my left. And I'm only maybe 20 yards from the tree line. And as soon as it growled, was like, oh crap, I'm someplace I'm not supposed to be. And there was such fear. It's the only time I can remember, other than when I was a kid, being frozen with fear. And it lasted, my recording's 1 minute and 32 seconds. So 1 minute and 32 seconds, I'm standing there thinking my feet should be going, but they're not going anywhere. And then when it finally gave the final huff, it was like, okay, I'm out. Feet start working. So there was the danger aspect. A lot of other times, though, it's just like you're being watched. And that's the sketchy part is it them watching or is it somebody else watching? Hikers or, I had issue with the neighbors. Maybe the neighbors are following me. So you can never, other than being watched, you can't really verify what it is unless you see it. You're making a leap.
Yeah, great points right there, man, for sure. And I could definitely see that, but obviously I'm just trying to, in my head, kind of piece together a little bit of this. And have you yourself recently, or what was your most terrifying encounter where you felt like it was Sasquatch based? And also, have you ever had any encounters with people that you felt like were pretty screwed up?
The most terrifying was the night that I took a friend out with me. It was a January night, and she had stage 4 cancer. She just wanted to get out, take her mind off things. So I said, well, let's go out to my Bigfoot spot. I want to look anyway. And we get there, and I could see deer tracks come down the hill and then up the other side of the hill. And on the other side of the hill, there were 2 huge footprints. So I'm like, oh, I got a good idea what made those, because it was only 2 footprints. There wasn't any snow kick or anything like that, just 2 prints. And meanwhile, it was a dozen deer tracks going over the hill. So I'm like, let's go look. And she's like, okay, yeah, fine. So we turn out all the lights. I said, we'll go in dark. I don't want to scare anything off. And the snow was knee deep on me. And so we're trudging up through the woods, and you can hear like little sticks and stuff break. So the energy's picking up, but it's like, it's probably that deer, it's no big deal. And then we get over the hill, maybe 10 yards, and then we hear a huge tree snap. And she's like, what the fire truck was that? So I don't know. She's like, well, turn your flashlight on. So I turn the flashlight on, and right maybe 10 feet is a 7-footer that as soon as that light hit, you can see it bring its left arm up and cover its eyes. It's orangish brown. The hair on the arms was 3 or 4 inches long, and the chest on it was massive. I mean, the shoulders were twice as wide. I turned around, put my car keys in her hand, and said, go. And as soon as I said, tell her to go, that thing roared so loud that it vibrated your clothes. It felt like it just went right through you. And so she starts going down the hill. I'm literally picking her up because she's like $1.5 and she's not walking fast enough for me at this point. So I'm pushing her through the snow, and you can hear something walking behind me. It's not running. At the time I thought it was trying to get me, but obviously if it wanted to, maybe it was taking its time trying to figure out, do I want the slow, weak one, or do I want the big bodybuilder which has got a lot of chops and steaks on him? But, so I get her in the truck, and then as soon as my feet hit the road, it was icy, so I slide under the truck. I'm trying to get out from under the truck, and I hear my truck start, and I'm like, holy crap, she took me serious. And, push her over, we back up and leave. And the next day we go back, and those tracks are still there. So I measure them, and I put my size 15 next to them. And in the bottom of the track, you can see toes and everything. and they were 23-inch. And so I took a video of me trying to recreate those steps by taking as big a strides as I could up the hill. It took me, I think, 11 steps to get as high as they did in 2, and I'm kicking snow the whole way. So it was like, that was not a human in a suit. That was, there's just no way. And, unfortunately, she passed on, or she could, tell you the same story. But that was the scariest. As far as people, the only time was when I'm driving down to my spot, and all of a sudden somebody's putting two people are walking down the road, and they start flicking a flashlight. And I'm like, I don't know these people. I'm not stopping. You hear bad stories about that. And as soon as I go to go by him, he pulls out a mag light and flashes it right in my eyes. Now I'm blind, so I have to stop. As soon as I open my door, he starts, I'm half blind, can't figure out what's going on, what they want. And he starts walking toward me in a postured manner, we'll say. But that kind of ended when I pulled my 45 and said, one more step and you're in trouble. I don't know what your problem is, but you need to go. And then as soon as I pulled the 45, they were gone. Found out they lived down the road later, but that was probably my scariest point because I've never had to pull that before. But I honestly felt with the flashlight and being half blinded, yeah, I could have been in trouble.
Yeah, that's pretty gnarly stuff right there. And did you ever end up finding out more about them? Like, do you feel like it was potentially going to be like a negative encounter, or was it just, I don't know, maybe them trying to see who it was and you taking it a different way, or vice versa?
No, he intended to chew my hiney. I talked to the neighbor a few weeks later because it was about 6 months later that the DNR got involved, and I had to have my conversation.
Got you. All right. Well, still, that's not necessarily the best way to approach somebody.
No.
I mean, I know up here, which I assume Michigan's pretty similar. I mean, we have a ton of people that definitely have firearms. So, I mean, I wouldn't really encourage anyone to, yeah, just do that. I mean, when my little brother and myself were working on our werewolf video, I mean, we had to make sure that we were in a public enough place where it looked remote, but where someone would obviously know that if this thing did exist, it wouldn't be here under a street light with people filming it.
Yeah, exactly. I did see something though that kind of segued what we want to talk about. It was the night before last. I was flipping through YouTube and a suggestion came up, and I had heard about Bigfoot sightings and some Dogman stuff back in the 60s in an area around Grand Rapids, Michigan. A story popped up about Michigan is scary. So I watched it. And right around that same time period, it was somewhere between 65 and 69, there were a bunch of disappearances. There happened to be a serial unaliver. And it was within the exact same area where these people were disappearing. So people were making the leap of it was Bigfoot or Dogman instead of this guy, and his count was somewhere like 15 or 17 people. So they would leap into the paranormal before they even investigated the normal, really. And what was weird was the pictures back then and now, and that place hasn't changed. It still looks just creepy, but it wasn't Bigfoot or Dogman doing it. It was just a person who'd fallen off the edge, obviously.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly, and I actually have two personal encounters I'll touch base on here. But one of my friends and also co-hosts from the Hoggot Project, Jake Travis, actually has a super messed up story that occurred to him as well, and it shouldn't be called a story because it was an encounter. So let me rephrase that. And it had, again, nothing to do with cryptids. It actually was a dang person. So Jake is sitting in a pretty remote area because he likes to get out and about, man. I mean, he is West Coast in Washington, so I mean, he gets out there. He used to build BMX trails and things, and yeah, he's an outdoors guy. And he's sitting there in a super remote area. He hadn't seen anybody, so he set up camp here. Everything's going well. All of a sudden, he hears metal. Okay, well, we're in the middle of the woods here, so why does something, as Jake described, as keys in your pocket, why are you hearing this, right? So he then obviously becomes alerted, and whoever or whatever this is obviously is aware that he's standing up now, so he starts flashing his flashlight all around, sees nothing, so whoever or whatever this is obviously hunkered down. Waits a little bit, still can't see anything, so he then sits back down, but now does not feel comfortable whatsoever, obviously. I mean, I can't really say that I blame him. And, well, he now has stated that he was going to bring some more, things to potentially protect himself. But at this point in time, he doesn't really have anything. And that's what I was telling anyone before I finish this, man. This is going to sound funny. It would save your life as well. Okay. Meaning if you took a super soaker, right, and you filled that up with lemon juice and a bear or a person is charging at you, we all know how high powered super soakers can be. I promise you, if you blast a bear or person in the eyeballs with lemon juice, you are going to be able to escape the situation. And before I finish, do you agree or disagree?
Oh, I think lemon juice would be nasty. I never thought of that.
Super soaker, right? This is what I'm just
Yeah.
saying. So things to just be able to make sure to be able, if people don't like guns or lethal things, there are ways, okay? And I promise you, yeah. And you even put some salt up it there. Lemon juice and salt to the face, man, you are going to be pretty good for a little bit. But either way, so Jake doesn't have, anything at this point in time and sits back down. Well, he just has this feeling that something's not right. So he then decides he's going to pack up his stuff and he starts, heading to his nearby truck. As he's walking with this flashlight out of his peripheral vision, he sees something that obviously doesn't look like a tree or a bush. It just immediately stands out. So he whips over, shines the flashlight, and realizes it's a person facing backwards towards him. So they're facing the forest, all decked out in like camo gear, like high quality camo gear. Okay. So Jake, like I said, has nothing to defend himself. So he's sitting here with a light on this guy or woman he doesn't know, so person. And he doesn't want to say anything because obviously this person has been busted now, right? So if they do have a weapon, all they really need to do is just turn around and he's in some trouble. So he's just sitting there with this light on this person. Doesn't really know how much time has lapsed, and he turns around to then finish putting the rest of the stuff in his truck. As he turns back around, this person is now gone. So he hops in and drives off, but doesn't see the person anywhere. And before I get into my experiences, I would like to hear your thoughts on that right there.
People doing that is even creepier than Bigfoot or Dogman doing that to me. I mean, what was the point? What were the intentions? You know, was it to scare him, or was it waiting for him to turn his back when he got to the truck and something more nefarious happens?
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, dude, like you're saying, what are you doing in my campground in the middle of the night, not enunciating yourself? I'm in the middle of nowhere. And that ties into what I had mentioned to Barb as well about how if you say have people, for example, that are maybe Navy SEALs or special forces, correct, doesn't mean that they have to be quote unquote great people. Okay. You could have some of those people that are actually serial unalivers, but they're able to go over into an atmosphere where obviously they're getting an enjoyment out of it because now they're doing this for work, just smoking people. Okay. But then you come back here, right? And you either are in between opportunities or have gotten out of the military now, right? Okay, so you obviously still have these urges, but now you have not only these urges, but you have a lethal set of skills, okay? And know how to track people and such. So what the heck, man? Not only would you potentially have to deal with somebody that's psycho, but now imagine dealing with somebody that's psycho that is a former special forces or current special forces.
Yeah, it's easy to see how those guys can go off the deep end or do it for sport, because you train them to do this, you send them over someplace else, and they do this, and maybe they do it very well and very often. And as soon as they come home, there's no help to say no, and they just say, no, 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 you can't do that anymore. No help in them decompressing or working through it or like you mentioned, maybe they're just bent to begin with, and there is no helping them when they get home.
Yeah, great stuff right there. It's like that story I was telling you about the American soldier just saying, like, why are the rest of these people literally torturing this Japanese man that whether he's your enemy or not, what are we doing here? Okay. Like the other guy had even said, man. I mean, he didn't even want to have to shoot him in general. He didn't even want to be there, but obviously, he had to be there. But then you have these other people around that seemingly were getting enjoyment out of it. I mean, he had spoken about other people again, instead of being more humane about it, would literally just strangle somebody until they were no longer here, and just do stupid things that showed that they were enjoying this, man.
Oh yeah, beyond help at that point.
And like you said, though, then they come back here, man, and I mean, yeah, it's sad, and that's for another day to talk about. But yeah, that's a lot of the reasons, like you said. So not only are they insane, but now they have a special skill set. So it is something to look at for sure. And I've had two pretty gnarly encounters myself with people. Yeah, I've never had interactions with cryptids or anything, but I mean, I've been around some shady people in general just growing up. But there were only two times where I felt very strange about it, and that, well, maybe it was your natural instinct telling you, hey, buddy, you are in some deep shenanigans here. So the first one, when I was younger in high school, I was maybe around 16, 17 at this point in time. I did have my license, and that's the age around main time frames that people get it. So we used to have an extension that was built onto the back of our house for me because we had three kids and then my mom and my stepdad. So I had two little brothers. So yeah, I was the oldest and I got my own little extension. Well, also it was so I could go out the back door and not wake up the rest of the house per se if I, was going out and such later at night. But always being interested in nighttime and things and full moons and being creative and imagination aspects. Well, I'd like to go outside and, just kind of walk around at night and stuff and look up at the stars and always just, creep myself out. Like when I would almost be back maybe 10, 15 yards to my back door, I would sprint because I would swear in my mind a werewolf was going to get you or something. And still, like I used to jump up on my bed because I would have thought something underneath my bed would grab me. I mean, my bed's too close to the ground for anything to hide under there now, but if it was higher up, I'd probably think the same now, right? So I'm just out, walking around, and no one is out at this point in time. And I live in this area where there's like these little half circles that loop around, but also there's some like main stretches of road as well. So these little half circles are where people are. And all you have is the street lights. And it was probably 2:30ish, give or take, in the morning, maybe 3. I don't know. The time frame isn't fully the point of this story, but it was nighttime. My parents were sleeping. And like I said, no one's around. So as I'm walking up this hill, maybe, I don't know, 20 yards away, I see this car just kind of pull out and just stop. But it's all really dark. So it's just hard in general to even see what kind of car it is because the street lights aren't making the best illumination as well. But instead of taking a left and proceeding to go out the other direction, this car then whips around right, meaning coming down like per se towards me kind of, and then whips off into the side circle, which would be the quickest way then to try to cut me off, more or less, is kind of how I felt. So I was like, what the heck? So again, no one's around, and why is this person just whipping towards me? I start running, and when people say they're in those circumstances, dude, my legs did feel like jello and super heavy. I mean, I don't know, I probably was cranking, but it felt like I couldn't run fast enough. And then to get back to my house and the extension, there was like the side little trail behind these houses. So there was like some bushes and brush, but you could run basically through tall grass and such, like behind these houses. But I didn't think I was going to be able to hit this like area quick enough where this person would not have seen that I was going in this other direction and still could have just crept all around our circle. So I don't know. My first instance was just to dive into this bush. So when I dove into the bush, well, I was just sitting there and this car loops around, right? And it's just then sitting in front of the bush, like dun, 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 dun. and with the windows down, but there's no internal light on inside, which I don't know if they purposely had done that to keep themselves out of illumination. But so when the window went down, I couldn't see anything. And this person, I still don't know, male, female, or what, couldn't see. They obviously were looking to see where I had went. And after what seemed like a lifetime, they then just rolled their window up and went very slow off in the opposite direction. And then I just got up and just booted back to my house, man.
Yeah, what do you do there? That's creepy on another level. Just another thing of what were the intentions, and just waiting for somebody to walk out by themselves. And it was a good thing you trusted your gut instinct, because if you hadn't hid, you told me about who knows how big the person was in the car looking for you.
Right? That's just what I'm saying. And again, kind of like with the Hagar and Jake Travis's circumstances with a person in their or in his campsite, what was this person doing? I mean, what was the point of that? Obviously, if they knew me or knew that I like to do that around that time frame, they would have yelled out or something like my name, I feel like, or texted me, or I don't know, man. That was just super bizarre behaviorism. And like you said, I had no idea who was in there. I mean, I've pretty much been around the same size since high school, like 6'1", like 158, 162-ish, 175 at points in time, but that's about it. I've never been really big, man. When I played sports and stuff, I was fit. And I mean, I still take care of myself now, but I don't lift weights or stuff. I do like aesthetics and just like natural like motion. I do a lot of like stuff like Tom Brady. Okay. So I've never been like a bigger person. So yeah, I can hold my own, and I grew up in a crappy place, and I have no problem, knocking somebody in the face if I have to. But that's not the point. Again, like someone your size, I don't think I could have really done much in that situation, dude. If you would have just like cracked me one and then chucked me in your car and goodbye.
I was gonna say, if he would have caught you unaware behind you somehow, that's why UFC started putting weight classes in, because size at some point does matter.
Yes, I remember that too back in the day, bro. Yeah, it used to be brutal. You'd have some like little small guy going up against like Andre the Giant, just getting sauced, dude. You're like, yeah, what is happening? I believe that was pre-Dana White though, but yes.
Yeah, pre-Dana White. That was, I look back at some of those old videos and it's like, holy cow, 140 pounder up against a 350 pounder. And
right? It's like Bloodsport or something, man. With Jean-Claude Van Damme, dude, a kickboxer. What the heck?
Yeah, people are crazy.
They are.
It's the most obscene deeds.
Yeah, and if you think that one's pretty messed up, this last one right here, as we do start to wrap this up, because Mr. Barber does have other things he needs to attend to. Back when I used to act and model all the time, I would travel all around New England. And, I've been back and forth between Boston and Maine for a very large portion of my life. But I am up in Maine now and was up in Maine when this occurred. And I was going down to do a casting, and I had my grandfather's car. So he had maps in there, but didn't have a GPS, or he did, and I just didn't bring it. Something stupid. And yeah. So either way, I get finished with what I'm doing and take a wrong turn on the outskirts of someplace in Massachusetts where I wasn't familiar with. So then I got all turned around and I had to go pull into this gas station convenience store to ask potentially, hey, can someone point me in the right direction? But before I even get inside of the store, I see this person who looks pretty generic pumping gas into his car, and he's got a Maine license plate. All right, so the smart thing to do is probably have said nothing, but I just went up to him and I was like, yo, dude, like, I am supposed to be heading back to Maine. I'm not really sure where I can go to get back there. And he started explaining how I could backtrack, but I was like, are you going back to Maine? And he's like, I am, but I'm taking a back route. I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to follow you. And he's like, all right, well, if you do that, you should probably fill up on your gas here, because there's no stops for like, I think it was 30 or 40 miles or something. At this point in time, I did not realize he was taking the White Mountains to head back to Maine. Okay. So yeah, I put some gas in. I mean, I didn't put the most because it was like a V8, so gas guzzler, and I didn't really had the most money. My grandparents were rich, so yeah, you can put gas back in your car is pretty much what the mentality was of me back then, which is not good. But either way, I start following this person, and now, it's starting to fade into nighttime, and I'm realizing that I have no cell phone service or anything, so I can't even call my grandfather to try to figure out where I potentially am or if I'm going to be late or whatnot. So I just see these campgrounds coming beside me, like areas where you would pull in, and some had like little signs, I'm going too fast to really see, but I understand they're like campsites. I don't know if it's seasonal, they're abandoned, no clue. Either way, we're just driving through the White Mountains. Well, it gets to a point in time now that we've been driving for quite a long time, and my phone finally rings because apparently I hit a spot of reception where my grandfather has now hit me up. And I'm trying to explain to him where I am or what has occurred and such. And he hears me a little bit and then tells me, "What the hell you're doing in the White Mountains, Kenny? I think you're up there. Like, you need to turn around." Phone cuts out. So I'm like, okay, well, that's always great. So it seems to me that apparently I'm in a direction that really doesn't seem to make sense. And now at this point in time, I try to flash my lights behind this guy to get him to pull over. Nothing. Okay, so then I speed up beside him. And these are pretty, like, shady kind of winding roads where you could just go off downside of the mountain. And this guy's going like 50. And I'm pulling beside him, like beeping the horn, like, "Yo, pull over, pull over." No acknowledgement, man, whatsoever, dude. Doesn't even look over, just keeps looking straight ahead. No way in hell he didn't see me flashing my lights, pulling right up behind him, beeping my horn, pulling beside him. What the frig? So I'm like, okay. So I pull back behind him, and I'm like, well, I don't really have an option now except to just continuously go in this direction, because if I turn around, I'm just going to run out of gas and be back where I was. Finally, we end up coming out to an area where you see like a light and then a small gas station / convenience store. He pulls in there. I pull in there. I'm kind of pissed at this point in time too. Like, what the heck? So he starts to like get out of his car and walk towards me. And at this point in time, I'm like, "Yo, dude, you're not coming up to me where I'm sitting down in my car." So I immediately stood up and just pushed my door open too, kind of to keep that like distance, I guess, if that makes sense. So as he's walking towards me, I pushed my door open. So now I'm standing up, but I have my door between him and I, which isn't going to make that big of a difference anyhow. But just to put myself in a situation where now I can defend myself if I need to. And just very awkwardly, he puts his hand out to shake my hand and goes, "You should really be careful with who you trust, because maybe next time it's not going to come out and end so well for you." And then just gets back into his car and he drives off. When he shook my hand, it was one of those hold on to my hand for a second for a while. It was super bizarre, dude.
Looking back, what do you think it was?
Good question, man. I mean, we do have a lot of sick people in certain areas here in Maine that are listed as offenders, which people should know. I mean, obviously, you can understand that, when you go to move into areas and such and you have children, okay, well, yeah, there's certain areas around here where there are more than those that you would not want around, man. In general, 0 would be nice, but we're talking about like the most per capita in the state and stuff. Yeah. So there are certain kind of shady areas. So that shows you there are some scumbaggy people, which would be anywhere. But when I look at like serial unalivers, I haven't really found any that have been convicted in Maine or New England that look anything like that guy. So I'm not really sure, man. I mean, I don't know. Could he have been from another area and just put on a license plate or something? Sure. I mean, more or less. And like the rest of these serial unalivers, man, they travel around. But I don't really know, man. It's a tough one because he got me to where I needed to get me. So could it have been him just second guessing? Because, I mean, he wasn't much bigger than me. I mean, and he probably was maybe in his mid 40s or such. And I was like in my early 20s. So, I mean, I would have had no problem defending myself. So I don't know, again, risk reward, if that's what was going through this person's head before he thought about something. Because even if he did pull over there, I mean, if he had a gun and stuff, sure. but you're still gonna have to really do me in because I'm gonna give you everything I got, and you're not bigger than me, and you're 20 years older than me, so I'm definitely gonna cause you some sort of feelings you aren't gonna like, man. So I don't know. No clue, dude, because like I said, I can't find anybody that looked like him that was potentially a serial unaliver. But again, there's numerous amounts of those that aren't caught. So who knows, man? I mean, how do you feel about those, I guess?
Your story reminded me of, and I was trying to find the guy's name on in Google, but I can't. But I think it was in the 70s. The guy was 6'7" or 6'8", and his mom was real abusive, so he was smoking college girls, we'll say. Picking them up and seemed like a nice guy, and then taking them and out in the woods and unaliving them out there. And then his mom had calmed down, so his rage had calmed down, and he picked two girls up and was driving to his normal place, and they were in the back laughing or whatever, and um, something clicked inside him where he said, you know what, this was back when hitchhiking was a big thing. And he's like, I can't do it today. So he turned around and took them to their destination and told them, be careful who you take rides with. And he said those girls had no clue that they were that close to being two more victims. And the guy wound up taking two or three more and then offing his mom. Your story reminds me of that.
That's pretty creepy. That's just what I'm saying, like right there, man. I mean, you never really know. So, yeah, it didn't occur in a bad way and such. I mean, I'm still sitting here kicking with you, bro. And I mean, we got a weekly show 2 times a week and such. But I just really want people to understand that you can still go out and enjoy the wilderness and enjoy life, okay? You're in just as much danger walking through a city around people as you are out in the wilderness, okay? Yes, a mountain lion and a gorilla and a grizzly bear or any of those things, a great white shark, a crocodile, whatever, anything can cause us harm, okay? Yes. But when you look at the statistics, okay, I'm not saying just jump in the water and swim with sharks. I'm not saying that whatsoever, okay? Great white sharks are very dangerous. But how many people have been unalived by great white sharks compared to people? Okay, again, how many gorillas or bears or things have unalived people compared to people, right? Okay, so yes, this can occur, but you can legit be walking in the dang grocery store and walk by somebody that you don't even know exists, and they could follow you out to their car without you knowing, follow you back to your house, figure out where you live, and then as soon as you go to bed at night, they come in and unalive you. All right, that happens all the time. That's not something I just made up. I mean, that's an example from documentaries where people do these things. Okay, yeah, just be aware. People are effed up, dude, and it's not just cryptids and known animals that are taking people. There is a large human aspect at play here. And Mr. Barber, before we let you go, how do you feel about that, man?
I think you're 100% accurate, because if you compare the odds of going out in the woods multiple times compared to a weekend in Chicago,
Yes.
I mean, case closed. People can be scary. I mean, when you got sections of town that even the police don't respond to, that's not Bigfoot hanging out on the corner, pimping Mrs. Bigfoot out. That's people.
Yeah, I mean, preach, bro. So again, I'm not saying go out into the wilderness and don't protect yourself, because yes, I do believe that Sasquatch, Dogman, known predators, and other things are involved as well. I am just telling everyone, don't be so naive to think that people aren't involved here, okay? And that every one of these instances is an animal or a cryptid, okay? And also, yes, bring stuff to protect yourself. Bear spray, mace. Yes, I'm telling you, a super soaker that's not very expensive. It's not lethal. You're not going to get in trouble with the law. Fill that up with something acidic like lemon juice, natural, right there. It's lemon juice. You're not going to unalive anybody. You're not going to ruin this bear's whole life if people are worried about, a bear's reaction to stuff. I understand. But if that bear is coming to attack you, well, spraying it in the face with some lemon juice is going to deter it, and it's not going to injure it. Okay. Yeah, for a little bit, it's going to have its eyes hurt and his nose, but maybe we'll think twice next time at coming after a person. Okay. And same thing with if anyone sees people get hit in the face with mace and things. Yeah, okay, that's not nice, right? But same thing with if anyone out there is gnarly enough to try it, go ahead. I am not, but yeah, let one of your friends spray you in the face real quick with a super soaker with lemon juice, all right? And see how long you were screaming and holding your eyes and not being able to get your composure, which would again allow somebody to get back in your car or run off, call for help, or dude, I mean, Brian, you're a big guy, but all right, you come at me, you're pissed off. I spray you in the face with lemon juice, right? And then it's going to probably take you a little bit of time to get your composure where I can at least hide or get away from you, I feel like.
Well, yeah, it's going to take me quite a bit of time, especially if you don't have anything to rinse your eyes out with. Lemon juice and salt. I mean, just a little shampoo in my eyes, and I'm crying like a baby till I can rinse it out.
Yes. So that's all I'm saying to everybody. There are ways you can make sure and you can go out and be safe still and not feel like you have to use something lethal. Okay. If you don't like guns and things, I understand that. But just do what Brian and I just mentioned. Make sure you have ways to protect yourself. And, well, Mr. Barber, would you like to touch on anything else before we let you get rolling?
I think we covered it. Got the point across.
Great stuff. And to the audience, yes, for tonight, this will be the conclusion of the Midnight Society's gathering. But no worries, we will have Mr. Barber's links up in the description like we always do. So if you are interested in things that he covers that we do not cover here, make sure to go over and check out what he is churning out. And also, we do have a playlist if you would like to get caught up on things that Mr. Barber and I have been churning out as well. It is all going to be very easily accessible. And Bigfoot's Barbershop is here twice a week. So I will be talking to him again tomorrow, and you will have a ton of great content. So thanks for chilling with us, man.
Always my pleasure to hang with you.
Ooh, you legends, you. I do adore every single one of you, and thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Feed the algorithm, and I will see you very soon.